Well, what's up again there, guys? This is Brian, the Three Topics Gamer, here to give you another episode of Other People's Questions, where I answer all the questions that have been sent to me over the past week. Just like last week, I think we got a much smaller episode of questions. There were a few other smaller ones that were also in the comment section that I was able to answer there. So if there was a question that you sent in, be sure just to check your notifications or check the comment section for the last video to see if it was answered there. We got 5 this time around. I think we had 6 last time. They're all pretty simple. I think only little one extended complicated one. The first one comes from Cassie J. Williams. You want to know, what are my thoughts on the Mortal Kombat 11 reveal for Kabal and Jade? I don't really have much thoughts for either of those reveals because not really a fan of Kabal or Jade. All I know about them is that these were two characters that were killed in Mortal Kombat 9. I think they had cameos in Mortal Kombat 10, but they weren't playable, so I guess they're making them playable in Mortal Kombat 11, so that's really all I have to say on the matter. Next question comes from Demetrius Puffer. You want to know, if Virgil was given time to recover from his battle with Dante, do I think that he would have been able to win against Mundus? Probably not. I mean, even at full power at that point, I just don't think he's powerful enough. You have to remember that by the time Dante had taken on Mundus, he not only had both halves of the amulet, he had been given an extended amount of powers, and he had the... You have to remember that by the time Dante fights Mundus in Devil May Cry 1, several years have gone by since Devil May Cry 3, so he's significantly more powerful at the beginning of 1 than he would have been at the end of Devil May Cry 3, so that's the first one. Number 2, he's been given a number of extra powers and extra equipment, and he has his father's sword that's fully powered up with both halves of the amulet. So I just don't think even Virgil at full power probably could have done really anything against Mundus. I mean, he probably would put up a good fight, but I think he still would ultimately lose. Next question comes from Harshly Critical. You want to know, who is my favorite character ever? No Metal Gear Solid. Well, you don't really specify whether it's in a movie or a video game. So, since I don't really have a favorite character of all time, but since we can't use Metal Gear Solid, I guess we will just drop down to the next franchise, which would be Final Fantasy. And I can easily tell you that my favorite character in that is, of course, Auron from Final Fantasy X. Very easy to pull off. Next question is the most extensive and semi-confusing question coming from the Immortal Super Being, and you want to know, which side in Assassin's Creed do I think has the right ideology? Not morals. Is it the Templars who want everyone to know about the alien origins of religion in their world, or the Assassins who want the lie about religion in their world and keep it going? The problem with that is that it's like, okay, I mean, it's like, do you want the Templars who want to have everyone know everything about everything, or the Assassins who just want to keep it all a secret? There's no real right answer. It depends. It's different from person to person. I mean, it's essentially what you're asking is, here's an example. Do I want to know about all the shady business the United States government does? Probably not. If I knew everything our government was doing, it would probably freak me out. And so, in a sense, as long as there's things in the world that even I don't want to know. And so I'm kind of leaning more towards the Assassins but then again, I'm intrigued by information. And so I think, for me personally, I think that's just impossible to pick, because there's some things about the world that I would like to know, and then there's some things about the world I would feel more comfortable, and I think I could live my life better not knowing all these threats and all these problems and exactly how the world's working. I think it makes life a bit easier to live. So that's a very difficult question to answer, so I don't really have a definitive answer. I think it just depends on exactly what type of information and what it is based on, and then I can pick each specific side. And the last question of the episode comes from J-Bat. You want to know, how did I feel about Anakin's turn to the dark side in Revenge of the Sith? Well, we knew that was going to happen. I mean, that was kind of the whole point of the prequel trilogy. A lot of people say it was rushed, but I think some people might only feel that way if they only watch the movies. Now, if you're someone like me who went through all the Clone Wars comic books and novels and the Clone Wars series, you would kind of know that Anakin's turn was steadily building. Now, I can understand why people would feel it was rushed. I can understand that if you stick to the films. But I think that's why you have all this extra content. And I think that's why my personal love for Star Wars is definitely a lot stronger than, say, your casual fan. But sad, but it was kind of coming. I mean, heck, it kind of started in Attack of the Clones. So I think his turn was almost inevitable. But just me personally, if we're talking just strictly films, I thought it was handled decently. I mean, it is kind of sudden. I mean, he's there, watching Mace Windu and Darth Sidious go at it, and he essentially has to choose between hopefully not being able to save his wife and, joining the dark side and saving his wife. I mean, Anakin did not turn to the dark side simply because of power. He simply wanted to save his wife. And so, in his mind, he feels somewhat justified. But, some of the worst things in human history have been done for the best of intentions. So, it's a common trend. So, overall, I think it was handled as well as it could have been. But, we all knew what was coming. So, yeah. And with that ends this particular episode of these questions. I'd like to thank the 5 of you that sent in your questions and also the other ones that I managed to answer in the comment section of the last video. If you guys have any questions you'd like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below. But make sure you get them into me before next Wednesday, roughly before noon, before I start filming the next episode. And like always, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you next time.